Hi guys, it's Matt with Olympus Reptiles, and today we're at Manhattan Reptile World, where we've done a lot of our videos lately. And I got Dave here. Say hi, Dave. Dave's kind of like a vampire. He's scared of the bright lights here and things. This is Dave Karnowski. If you've been around reptiles for a long time, you may have known him as Scaly Dave. He's been involved. How long have you been in this business?
Quite a while. I mean, we started this back in 2003.
That's the first store, the Scaly Dave store.
Yeah, Scaly Dave's.
So of all of us that are involved, I would say Dave's got the most experience. He's kind of the most senior reptile guy, not just because he's older than me, slightly, but because he's actually been into it the longest. But Dave here has got something very unique, and so he wants to share one of his unique balls with you. So, why don't you talk about your unique balls that you've got, Dave?
They're bicolored.
So tell us what you got.
It's smooth. We have what's called a chimera, which a chimera is kind of the opposite of fraternal twins, or not fraternal twins, but like identical twins, where an identical twins where there's one zygote and it splits into two. Mm-hmm. Well, this is when it starts with two zygotes and one absorbs the other one. So what happens is you end up with a animal that actually will express two different sets of homozygous DNA. So they're like twins that are one animal. So I'll get that out.
If you want to learn more, the book version is Stephen King's The Dark Half. For any of you Stephen King fans, he kind of does a whole story on that where it's kind of crazy. But this animal, if you followed a lot of kind of the famous YouTube reptiles like Skittles the ball python, a lot of the paradox, I think this blows those paradoxes away.
So why this, people will say, well, that's just a paradox. Well, why this isn't a paradox is for the simple fact that this is it's a double homozygous expression of two different supers. So you have a super stripe and a ivory here. Well, you can have two supers that express themselves, but the super stripe and ivory gene, or yellow belly gene and specter gene, are allelic. They exist on the same allele. So there's actually no possible way that this snake could be expressing both supers at the same time.
Right.
So it's not a true paradox. This is actually a chimera. And I've consulted a lot of people about that, and they all agree. It doesn't happen very often. So.
It's extremely rare, and basically, because of it being allelic, if I get this wrong, correct me, the whole snake has yellow belly. Half of the snake has yellow belly and specter, which would be the parts you see with the color. The other half is super yellow belly, which is what you get the ivory from. Where with a paradox, you wouldn't have that single gene running through the whole thing. So that's how we know this is two snakes. When you see a paradox, you may have a super stripe that would show parts that are normal or something of that nature, but you wouldn't get one where it's expressing a gene that has to be homozygous with both halves of the snake like that. It just wouldn't work that way.
Yeah, so in an ivory, that like a paradox ivory, it'll look ivory, but splotches of it will have normal coloration.
Right. Whereas this, everything has a super running through it somewhere, and that super that's running through it, whether it's the allelic specter and yellow belly or the super yellow belly, all contains.
Look at those little weird
belly.
spots there. That's
It's
cool.
just crazy. You see, we got a little bit right down there by the tail. And they're both really cool morphs on their own, but to see that combined that way, and even comes all the way down in the belly, it is just so cool. Now, we know when this snake is bred, obviously yellow belly is going to get passed on, or has a chance of being passed on. Do you have any idea if it's going to pass on yellow belly and specter?
I don't know.
Or all yellow belly?
I don't know. It might be able to throw super stripes. Who knows? Whereas I don't think if you breed a super stripe because it's allelic, you can't breed a super stripe to something and produce super stripes,
right,
unless it's a yellow belly. What you throw is specters and yellow bellies in combination of whatever gene they're being bred to. So I'm wondering if this actually could throw super stripes because it has the other, I don't know.
So you're curious if it can pass on basically all three of the genes that are in there. I mean,
yeah, we'll see. And maybe someone out there already knows. So.
And it could be that
we'd love to hear your comments on it.
Yeah, if you've dealt with this, talk to us about it.
Yeah.
I think it'll probably do one or the other. It'll either pass on genes like a super stripe or like a yellow belly. It probably depends on what DNA its sex organs are carrying. But it's really kind of a quirk. And that I wanted to kind of just feature that snake because it's so rare. How many ball pythons do you think you've hatched just since you've been doing this?
I don't know, thousands.
thousands. And you know other people like, Tall Grass. Dave's got me connected with those guys who have done thousands themselves. We've done quite a few. And I have never seen anything like that.
I sent a picture to John Stoles down at
Tails and Scales
in Wichita, and he said he's the first one who mentioned that it was a chimera to me. So.
It's just this extremely rare animal that... This is also the only way I can get Dave to appear on camera. Is like, Dave, you got to talk about this extremely rare animal. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Kurt, do you have any questions before you get out of here?
No, not really.
Actually, one quick question I'll add since you didn't ask anything. Do you have any of his clutch mates?
I've sold them.
You sold them all already?
Yeah, so, here's a clutch mate. Let's see.
This way you can show the difference. So this is...
Here's 3. I sold the Super Stripe.
Okay.
But we have a Spectre. Okay, so here's a Spectre. It's not growing. This thing's eating like a horse.
It's eating for 2, Dave.
Yeah, it's eating for 2. This is eating, but it just is not as big. This is the Spectre gene. This is an Ivory. Those were clutch mates, but I better throw a yellow belly in there so you know what that looks like. So look at the little shit biting at me. That's cute. Here, let's see if we can get the camera.
So basically, if you combine the yellow belly and the Spectre, you would get Super Stripe, which is what's expressed in this part of the snake.
And then
if you combine yellow belly and yellow belly, you get Ivory. And for some reason, this snake has both. That is just
the
wow.
super of both.
Yeah, the super buzz. You're getting a Super Stripe, and you're getting Ivory, all in one snake.
So you got
crazy.
like 3 different Ivory genes and 1 Spectre gene.
And I know somebody out there, before you put that thing up, is going to say, well, maybe they were both het pied, and you got a pied Super Stripe. You don't. And you can tell that, 1, because if you look at the pied pattern, you can tell because it affects the Super Stripe pattern. And 2, look at the yellow right there.
That's just Ivory.
That's Ivory. So you can see that faint yellow line showing through. So this is not a pied or something else going on. That yellow line is a dead giveaway of Ivory. It's always a faint yellow racing stripe right down the snake's spine. So, and I love how it kind of continues with the Super Stripe. It's kind of neat how it kind of lines up.
Let me show you one more thing before you go. I have paradoxes. So,
We do.
So I have 1 paradox here.
Do you want that one for comparison?
Here. It's in shed, dang it.
It's all right.
Well, this is a Spinner Blast. It's a spider pinstripe pastel, but here's the paradoxing going along the sides.
And that's a heavy paradox. That snake contains a lot.
So
of
it's got normal pinstripe coloration underneath, or spinner coloration. It's that what's paradoxing out is the pastel. So the pastel's paradoxing out, and a lot of times you'll see it'll affect their head,
But it's totally different than what we're seeing with the other snake, the double homozygous crazy snake. All right, Kurt, any questions?
Yeah, so how rare would you say that is? Like, has there been any more?
I've only heard of 1 or 2 others.
Yeah, like when we first hatched it, I started looking some things up, and I think I found one that was actually the same type. It was Super Stripe and Ivory from maybe 4 or 5 years ago that had listed as being sold. And that was the only occurrence I could find of that snake there. Okay? But it's hard to tell how often it can happen. But I would imagine it's going to be extremely, extremely rare. 1, a double homozygous animal is extremely rare because it's hard to breed. To get both those in the same snake like that, it's luck of the draw. I mean, I would bet it's less than 1 in 100,000.
What makes that rare is both the supers are allelic. They exist
Right.
on the same allele, so it's impossible to do it naturally.
Right, can't be done because you cannot make that naturally because it'd either be Ivory or it would be Super Stripe.
Right.
Because you can't have
Both.
yellow belly in one snake.
So the only explanation for it is that animal has 2 different snake set of genetics.
I would bet this is at least at minimum odds 1 in 100,000.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like
I got a picture sent to me of another one of those.
so very, very cool animal. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.
So